The hosts and guests on Everything's Messy podcast are not licensed healthcare professionals. The discussions in our episodes are not personalized medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider for medical guidance. Never delay seeking professional medical advice or emergency assistance because of our podcast. We encourage consulting with a healthcare professional before making any significant health changes. By listening to our podcast, you agree to the disclaimer. Thank you for listening to Everything's Messy podcast. Hey, welcome to Everything's Messy podcast, where we celebrate the beautiful but messy life experiences that most, if not all, people go through. Get ready to embark on an exciting journey through the raw and unfiltered stories of everyday people. Here, we dive into messy realities of life, from making messy mistakes to triumphs and everything in between. Are you sensing a theme? That's right, it's messy. But this just isn't about the mess. It's about finding strength and resilience in the midst of it all. We'll explore how health, fitness, and wellness play a crucial role in navigating life's twists and very messy turns. And we'll challenge conventional systems, because sometimes the most unconventional paths lead to the greatest discoveries. Join us as we embrace the messy, beautiful, and endlessly fascinating stories. Each episode is a testament to the power of our messy journeys and the beauty that emerges from the mess. So grab your favorite beverage, coffee, sparkling water, whatever it may be, and prepare to be inspired. Are you ready? Let's get messy. Hey, what is happening, my messy people? Okay, so this is another episode of Everything's Messy podcast. I am your messy host, Sarah. If you did not listen to last week's episode, I encourage you to go back and listen to that. I had a wonderful guest and we talked all things type 1 diabetes and just her story and the things that she is trying to do and advocate for diabetes. So go back and listen to that if you did not. Today's going to be a little bit fun. There's some health trends that are trending on TikTok and just in the wellness space, and people are going crazy over it. And as always, I bring the order to the messy when it comes to people getting a little too crazy with their wellness hacks. Look, I am all for a good hack. You know, I'm trying to hack the heck out of my body and all of the hormone issues and Hashimoto's issues and diabetes issues. So I'm all for a good hack. But let's bring the crazy down just a little bit and talk about some of these trends that are going on. And if you're not on TikTok, that's okay. They're out in the general wellness space to begin with. And a lot of times, wellness influencers are a dime a dozen. I know because I am one, and you just got to be careful and pick through the noise. One of the things that I think that gets lost in all of the wellness space that is circulating is, what are the goals here? What are we trying to accomplish? And that can be anything from getting stronger, losing weight, getting healthier, all of their basic general things. And that's great. But to me, the goal of wellness is to embody the best version of being well. Kind of stumbled over that, but I think it gets to my point. And so when we think about that, what is the best version of our body to be well in? That's different for all of us. And I've said this before, what works for you doesn't necessarily work for me. What works for me doesn't necessarily work for you. So I think getting really dialed in and know yourself and know what you are trying to accomplish and figure out, do you feel better with no gluten? Do you feel better with no dairy? Is there an autoimmune something that's going on that's making you make these choices? There's a lot of people that can't do nightshades but love tomatoes. Do you, want to hurt so good and eat the tomato and suffer of the things that might happen later? I mean, it's just an all dependent thing. And it seems to get a bit precious. And we can drive ourselves crazy, and we can try and have all of these strict restrictions and parameters that we're trying to work in. But the biggest thing I think we need to be talking about as well is, does it make sense? Sometimes maybe good, sometimes not. Okay, so the first one that I want to go over, and I saw this a bunch, and I wasn't even on TikTok for a long time. I wasn't even scrolling endlessly, but it seemed to be in my feed. And it's so funny how these things get in our algorithm, and it's like, why am I watching this? But the first one that popped out at me was okra water. Okay. So if you don't know what okra is, it's a vegetable. It comes primarily from East Africa. And a lot of the people that live in the South do different things with okra. There's fried okra and things like that. And it's sort of a staple of what they eat in the South. I I don't care for it. I don't like it. I feel like maybe it's one of those things that it's either an acquired taste or something that you just grew up eating and you didn't have a choice. It's not for me, but here is this trend is okra water. They're taking it a step further and they're chopping up the okra and they're soaking it overnight and then they're straining it and they're drinking the water that's left over from soaking the okra. So here's a couple of things that you need to know about okra. One is it's very, very high in oxalates. When we talk about this, oxalates come from vegetables. I know I get a lot of flack every time I say this, but not every vegetable is actually good for us. Vegetables came to us after we started industrializing and farming and those kinds of things. Most vegetables, again, I always get a lot of flack for saying this, don't grow wild. You can't find it in the wild, right? You have to farm it. You're not just going to be out in some random piece of property and come across a carrot unless that carrot has been farmed or planted, right? And it's the same with most vegetables. And again, they carry lots of oxalates. And let's go back way, way in the beginning when I started this podcast, I talked about it. If you look at Dr. Paul Saladino and what he says, he talks about if we're eating protein, mostly meat source, and fruit, that's what our body needs. The meat, right, it's an animal. We have to go hunt the animal, and its defenses is to run away if it can, right? Vegetables are plants that they have no way to defend themselves in a sense. So what happens is when you eat that vegetable, it releases all of these not chemicals, but the oxalates and these different enzymes that go into your body, and your body has to work really hard to digest it. So one of the things, and I'm dealing with this now with my poor husband, he's having a very bad bout of kidney stones and it's very painful. And so I've been, if you can imagine, going down all the rabbit holes and researching everything that I can. And it comes back to high oxalates. What is being missed, and this is really big in the carnivore community, and I encourage you guys to go read some of the things on Reddit and other places, there's Facebook communities that are talking about carnivore stuff. And for a while, especially when this was really hot a couple of years ago, there was a big misnomer out there that carnivore caused kidney stones, and that is incorrect. What happens is when you start to clear out your body and you go carnivore, if you were eating a lot of vegetables, your body is now trying to get rid of all those oxalates and start taking the nutrients from the carnivore diet. So what happens is the oxalate starts to calcify, the calcification turns into the kidney stones. A lot of people were like, oh my gosh, carnivore caused it. No, it's your body basically detoxing all of the oxalates out of your body, and poof, you have kidney stones. And that is what happened with my husband. He went carnivore for a while. He was doing really good. And so his body started to detox. And this started way back in December. And he was having a hard time, some pain, and he didn't understand why. And so again, I went down this big rabbit hole, pulled out all my books from Dr. Paul Saladino, and realized that it is a way your body he was trying to get rid of all of these oxalates that had built up. And that is the product of kidney stones. Now, in full disclosure, he also was a big energy drinker, which has since subsided. But I'm convinced the main culprit is he went carnivore. His body went, okay, great. Now we've got to get rid of all this stuff. Tried to get rid of all this stuff. The oxalates calcified, and then that made the kidney stones. So that is unfortunately what he's dealing with. But I encourage you so much. First, talking about the hack of okra water. You want to have the okra I if you want to eat it, that's fine, but I think drinking the water, there's not that much benefit to it. But then, like I said, taking it a step further and realizing its high amount of oxalates, this is not beneficial to us. It is not. And there's a lot of claims. It claims that it supports heart health. It claims that it has benefits for your skin. And surprisingly, one of the benefits that they claim is it helps libido for women specifically, which that really seems like a big, outrageous claim. But hey, I am not eating okra, so I cannot attest to that. If you are and you are loving it and having fun, that's great. Again, I would say the hack, though, of drinking the okra water, number one, I'd stay away from it because of the oxalates. And number two, if you are going to do that, you might as well just eat the okra for full benefit. Okay. So that's the first one that I wanted to get out of the way. And again, I always get flack for talking about vegetables. Everybody was raised, you have to eat your vegetables, you have to eat your vegetables, you have to eat your vegetables. I am not against vegetables, but I am against those with very high oxalates. I try and eat the vegetables that have a lower oxalate amount in them. And is it beneficial for my blood sugar? Vegetables are filling and they talk about fiber and all of these things we need. There was a huge thing with Dr. Sean Baker and Dr. Paul Saladino. They were coming out about how we don't really need fiber and all of this kind of stuff. And even Baker says you don't even need vitamin C if you're getting, this amount of meat and protein. There's a lot of information out there. And I think it's hard for us, especially in the way that it's ingrained in us and how we were raised. Again, we have heard, well, if you don't have vitamin C, then you get scurvy, except for what they're finding out is if you are heavily carnivore, it's giving you different nutrients. You don't need the vitamin C. And if you think about the people that came over, that were crossing the Atlantic and all of the ships that they got the scurvy or whatever, they didn't have meat either. They literally, maybe if they were lucky, had beans and potatoes. So some of this makes sense. It's cutting out the noise and doing your own research and doing what's good for you. I have come full circle. I've been very honest with since my heart attack and they put me on the vegan diet to going full carnivore to coming back circle to a whole food based diet where I do eat fruit. I do eat some vegetables, but I'm very careful. Again, oxalates should be a big word that people are trying, that can understand, hey, maybe we don't need the amount of kale that people are eating. I'm sorry, that is my opinion, but we do not. We don't need the amount of cruciferous vegetables that people are eating. I'm sorry, we just don't. It is really hard for people to latch onto that, and I get it. I'm not anti-vegetable, but I am anti-oxalate, and so we just need to be sure that we are eating the ones that will benefit us, not hurt us. So that's that. Okay, let's get into, and I've talked about this a little bit before, but let's get into juice cleansing and or the popular celery juice and or just juicing in general. So I want to say this very clearly. I am a fruit lover and we all need fruit. The problem is not against the juicing per se. What happens is when you're juicing, you're extracting all of the juice from the fruit. And that means that you're removing or you're not getting with it the fiber that the fruit has to offer. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means that even though it's natural sugar, the sugar that's in that fruit works with that fiber. And so when you eat it as a whole, that fiber slows down how quickly that glucose will enter the bloodstream, and hence it will make sure it doesn't spike the blood sugar, okay? When you juice and you're removing that fiber, yeah, you might get a few vitamins, but it is basically a shot of sugar that's going to spike your blood sugar, and there's no fiber to counteract that. So this is one of the big issues that I have with juicing. Also, when we're talking about the satiety or the fullness of what you're trying to eat, you're going to be a whole lot better eating the apple, again, because of the fiber, than you're going to be of drinking the apple juice and just spiking your blood sugar. Now, you're still getting nominal vitamins. I get that. But the whole fruit was meant to be consumed together because of the way it's going to break down and send that glucose into your bloodstream. So that's one of the things that I really struggle with the juice phenomenon. On top of that, right, you are taking in something that is cold. And I talked about this a couple months ago on the show. Our digestive system doesn't need cold. It needs warm. It needs to warm up to properly digest. So if we are eating a cold press, which is the big thing, cold pressed juice, we're drinking it over ice, and it's full of sugar, you are working completely against your body with how it's going to break down in your body. And I don't believe the benefit outweighs the risk, and maybe not even risk, but the downturn, which is no fiber and the sugar entering your bloodstream rapidly. We need to eat it as a whole fruit, so it's designed to be beneficial to us and work together. You take one of those components out, now we're in trouble. And that's what's happening. Again, with the cold and no fiber, you're really doing yourself a disservice. To me, it is just encouraged to eat the fruit as it's whole, get the benefits along with the fiber, and now everybody's happy, including your bloodstream, as it's getting slow amounts of the glucose into the bloodstream and working with the fiber, because the fiber will blunt it and how fast it goes. So, one of the things too is the celery juice. That's a big, pressing all the celery. That, again, is removing the fiber as part of it, helping you. There's not a whole lot of benefits to celery. I mean, there's a few vitamins and whatever. I think it's just one more thing where they're trying to advertise to you and, again, sell it as cold pressed and whatever, and it makes you lose weight. Well, it might make you lose weight if that's all you're drinking. However, celery is known to have sodium in it, sodium not being bad for you, but if you're already struggling with high blood pressure, things like that, drinking the celery juice without the fiber, now we're just double dosing on sodium. So it's just one of those things, again, it sounds great and it's in the wellness space and everybody's talking about it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is good for you. And it's hard. I get it. Having to, we see influencers and celebrities and all these people that what they're doing and this, they're drinking their juice. Especially here in Southern California, the cold pressed juice is a huge thing. And that's great, but you're really purchasing a very expensive drink that's really just sugar when you might as well just eat it whole. We have to come back to, yes, we need things for convenience, and I get it, but we have to come back to whole ingredients, whole foods, taking the time to make it ourselves, because let's be honest, the food out there is just getting worse what I'm talking about is the fast food, the processed food, even foods in restaurants. It is just not the quality, I feel, this is just my opinion, that it used to be. And, we need to make sure that we have the ingredients we need on hand in our own homes to make the things that we need to. Does it take longer? 100%. Do I always feel like doing a full ingredient meal? No, I don't always feel like doing it. But the alternative is processed fast food, seed oils, all of these things. And it's just not, it's not worth it to me. Okay. So the last thing that I will talk about is the protein noodles, not the zoodles that are made with zucchini. That's my choice. I prefer that. This is the Varia or other companies that have come out with a protein noodle. And I just want you guys to understand that is whey protein added into the noodle, which a lot of you can tolerate, and that's great. But I just want to talk to my diabesties and even the type 2s and also those with a gluten sensitivity. The whey protein spikes your blood sugar, can cause the stomach discomfort, And is it really necessary to get that extra dose of protein? I get it. We're always trying to, make sure we're getting enough protein every day. How can we sneak things in? But I am not a fan of the protein plus pasta. Now, my really good friend and my husband both like it. That's great. My choice is going to be the zoodles, thanks to my stepmom, who used to do that when I was a kid before it was even a thing. You take the zucchini and you make noodles out of it. And I honestly, yes, I know I'm eating zucchini, but it is in pasta form and with, steak or chicken and sauce into it. It tastes great. It's better for me digestively, doesn't raise my blood sugar, and I'm getting my protein from the chicken or steak or whatever else I'm putting on it. So I just wanted to get in with that. Again, if you can tolerate it, you can eat it, great. And if you're like me and you can not only cannot stomach the whey protein, but it does spike your blood sugar, finding the zucchini noodles is a good second option. So there's so much out there. There's so much out there. Are we better off for more choices? Are we worse off? I just don't know. Variety is great. Would it be simpler if we had smaller choices? Who knows? I know there's a lot of people out there who have, dietary restrictions and guidelines and things that they're suffering with. And I totally get that the more options they can have, the better. But when it comes to just looking at, full ingredients in your home, the best that you can do with a whole food is probably going to be the best for you. And I think there are tons of options, and you have the Quest chips and, different things like that. But if you try and simplify what it is that you're trying to work for, there's easy ways to do it. When I was fully carnivore, I was melting cheese, and that was my tortilla for the taco. There was no tortilla, it was just the cheese, but I was able to fold it into a taco. It satisfied everything that I needed to do, but some people can't have dairy. So then we have to come over here and find a different solution for that. And so I totally get options are great. I just wonder, is it confusing us more, or is it, making it better? I don't know. But I will say, I stand by, be careful of your oxalates. Definitely be careful of your oxalates. And sometimes people don't realize how much they're eating a day. Stop eating the kale, please. Please stop eating the kale. It's just not good for you. Okra, high in oxalates. If you gotta have that fried okra, I guess, but I would implore you to find a different thing to have. Stay away from the cold pressed. Anything cold. We want to be drinking bone broth warmed up. Electrolytes in water, it's fine, but does it have to be ice cold? Can we stomach it at room temperature? I think the only time something really ice cold is good for us is when we are in the summer months. Our body's ready to have that extra hydration and that extra coolness. But most of the time, our digestive system needs room temperature and or something warmed up. It's just better for your digestive system. Oh, and really quick too, the other thing that I've heard a lot of, which I'm not against. They're calling it Profi, which is protein and coffee combined. And they're saying with the coffee, that's your pre-workout because it has the caffeine. You put your protein in there and that's your coffee, and they're calling it Profi. And I have no issues with that, other than you should be at least having some sort of lemon water and or electrolytes before you jump into the caffeine. Then if you're going to combine your protein with your coffee, Profi, and go work out, that's great. We just want to make sure that you're careful with that caffeine introduction when you wake up in the morning, and you want to make sure that you are hydrated. The lemon, all of that is really good. Oh, and side note, I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV, but the rabbit holes that I've gone down for the kidney stones, they suggest having lemon in your water. The acidity in the lemon will help break down the calcium deposits. Also apple cider vinegar. Again, I am not recommending this. This is what I have read, and this is what I've made my husband take. So that's all that I have for this week. I think, again, we just need to have some common sense when following these health fads and these trends. What is the goal we're trying to accomplish? What is it we're trying to get our body to be? And if it is generally well, then there's nothing that's going to create that general wellness than the tried and true that our grandparents, our great-grandparents did. The expression, eat like grandma did. That is just good advice. I wish that more people would understand that the old ways, not that new ways aren't good, but the old ways aren't bad either. And there's a lot of truth to them. So let's embrace the old ways a little bit more, bring it back and make it more simple. And with that, also, I guess, be grateful that we do have modern day options and things that we can go to if we can't, tolerate the old stuff all the way. Although I think not only would the food taste better if we started going back to the old ways, we might be a little more healthier. I don't know. The epidemic of obesity that we have in this country is, really started 40 years ago with the introduction into our mainstream diets of these seed oils and the inflammation that it brings in our bodies and things like that. So I don't know. It still makes you wonder. Things that make you go, So I hope you all have a great week. If you have any messy story that you would like to share, let me know. I hope you're following me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. I'm also on YouTube. And let me know what everybody thinks. I've got some great interviews coming up and some summer fun and all that great stuff. So until next time, see you later. Thanks for listening to Everything's Messy podcast. Whew, if you made it this far, give yourself a gold star or at least a nap. Honestly, if you showed up today and you were listening, you've already crushed it. I'm so grateful for you listening. If anything hit home, share it, tag me, write it on a sticky note. I don't care. Just don't keep all of this messy goodness to yourself. You can find me on Instagram at Everything's Messy Wellness or over at my website, everythingsmessywellness.com, where I've got resources, coaching, and probably a new rant about blood sugar or something that's just nonsense. It's all waiting for you. Check out my YouTube channel. I've got all of my podcast episodes up there. And I'm on X at Everything's Mess. Or if you just want to send me an email, Sarah at everythingsmessywellness.com. Look, until next time, hydrate, take no crap, and as always, keep it messy.